When we meet Jesus in the gospel passage today, he may not be at his best. If you look back in the scriptures, Jesus has been busy, very, very busy. Maybe you know the feeling, although I'm guessing your to-do list is a little bit different than the one that he had. Jesus has recently been rejected in his hometown. He began a massive evangelism effort, sending out all of his disciples. He has experienced the death of his mentor. He has fed more than 5,000 people. He has walked on water, and he has healed the sick at Gennesaret, where people gathered around in such huge, close crowds that they were reaching out just to touch the fringe of his garment. Jesus has been very busy. Busy with many important and difficult things. And after dedicating all that time and effort to his ministry, most recently, he has been in an argument with a group of religious leaders who do not appreciate the way that he and his followers have been practicing their faith. Specifically, they object to how Jesus and his crowd do not follow ritual rules of washing. This must hardly seem like the most important point to address after everything that he's just been through. And Jesus retorts that his challengers are confusing what is human for what is holy. And he gets so worked up that he calls these esteemed elders of his own faith hypocrites who speak words of worship but do not honor God with their hearts. Ouch. Maybe Jesus notices the disproportionate nature of his response. Maybe he knows that he needs a rest. He leaves the crowds behind as well as his disciples, we think, and travels into foreign territory. He arrives in the city of Tyre and enters a house, and the gospel writer tells us that he does not want anyone to know that he is there. This trip might not be another ministry opportunity, but instead some sort of retreat. But Jesus can't catch a break. A woman, a stranger, finds out that he has arrived in town, and she learns in what house he is staying, and she barges in without so much as a knock, demanding help for her sick daughter. Jesus should know what to do in this moment. He's a healer. He's an extraordinarily gifted healer. And he's healed so many people since his ministry began without ever saying no. But somehow this moment is different. Maybe it's because he's exhausted. Maybe it's because he's supposed to be off the clock. Maybe it's because this woman doesn't ask politely. Maybe it's because she's a woman and not a man, or a Gentile instead of a Jew, or because she's Syrophoenician, not just a stranger but an enemy who represents both Rome, the colonizing force, and Phoenicia, an ancient military foe. But whatever the reason, Jesus does not immediately heal this woman's daughter. Instead, he says to her, did you hear it? Let the children be fed first, for it is not fair to take the children's food and throw it to the dogs. We know this kind of dog whistle, right? This lightly veiled discrimination from our own culture. This is not just a denial, it is a denigration. You and your child are not fully human, Jesus is saying. You are unworthy of what I have to offer. But amazingly, Jesus' vicious retort is not enough to stop this woman. She is bold and desperate for help for her child. She says, "Sir, even the dogs under the table eat the children's crumbs." And Jesus responds, "For saying that, you may go. The demon has left your daughter." What is Jesus doing? How could he speak this way to this woman And what makes him reverse course so quickly? This is the only time in the Gospel of Mark that Jesus is outmatched in an argument. He's usually really good at the quick rejoinder. Some folks theorize that Jesus constructs this moment. Maybe this is all a strategy on his part. Maybe he's repeating what he thinks others must be thinking in order to teach them a lesson. It's possible. The narrator doesn't give us very much to work with. Most biblical narratives are really spare. We don't know what his tone of voice was. We don't know what expression was on his face when he said these words, whether they came out harsh or provocative. But to me, this story is the most powerful if it's a rare glimpse of Jesus having a fully human moment. If he gets caught in between the contradiction of what he preaches, what he believes, and what he practices. Because surely we can relate to that. We know what it is to claim an expansive and loving set of beliefs, and then to discover just how hard it can be to live up to them in the moment. Whether Jesus is being strategic or whether he is mistaken, the hero of this story is the foreigner, the woman, the mother, the enemy. She is courageous enough to imagine that Jesus might be capable of helping her and that he might choose to help her despite all of the differences between them. And when Jesus doesn't help her at first, like Jacob, she wrestles with God, demanding a blessing, and she receives it. This month, we are exploring the idea of curiosity, the value of curiosity about ourselves and those around us, and about our faith, and about the ministry that we share together. Curiosity is valuable for so many reasons. I always love it when science and social science back up the things we're doing in religion. Scientists tell us that curiosity helps our brains stay healthy and it increases our awareness. It's associated with greater creativity and happiness. It can strengthen our relationships by increasing empathy and respect and care and reducing conflict. Curiosity is a thread throughout our Christian scriptures and traditions. Contrary to popular belief, the way of faith is not a way of certainty. Instead, it involves openness and transformation, the courage to consider things beyond what we currently know and practice. The practice of being converted over and over again. To be surprised, as Jesus himself is surprised in this story, or at least as the people around him are. Surprised by new connections, new ways of being, new opportunities for healing and change that they may have never imagined before. I wonder what the situations are in your life that call for a little less certainty and a little more curiosity. How might we follow the Syrophoenician woman and follow Jesus, not into any kind of perfection or correctness, but into what we might call a growth mindset? How would it change our lives individually and as a community? There are several opportunities through this congregation to cultivate curiosity this month. I already mentioned a class on Jewish Christian history with our neighbors at Kerem Shalom. Lots of learning to do with Jewish Christian relationships. A forum on inclusive community to deepen our awareness as a congregation of all abilities. A further welcoming of South Acton Congregational Church, who will be worshiping with us roughly half-time this fall. They'll be here next week. A chance to learn also about the saints of the past when a guest preacher visits. How could you embrace an opportunity to learn and grow this season? Is there a way in which you're stuck fenced in by what you're sure you're right about, forced to choose between what you are certain are your only options, here is some good news. Something new could happen. Behold, God tells us, I am doing a new thing. We can break old patterns of behavior. We can dismantle cultural practices that no longer serve us. We can imagine and then choose something that frees us and the people around us. We can soften and widen our hearts to be born again, renewed in faith and in hope. Maybe you noticed, it's just after Jesus denounces the elders of his people for believing in human traditions instead of holy ones that he doubles down and voices some of his own cultural prejudices. And it is when he reaches the end of his own capacity that he learns from an enemy what is really holy. May all of us find the capacity for this kind of humility in those most challenging moments. Instead of retreating in shame or doubling down in pride, may we embrace wonder and the provocative invitations to new life. Please pray with me. Jesus, you teach us with wisdom and also with humility. Make us brave enough not to hold tightly to what we are sure that we know, but instead always ready to be surprised. May we honor our teachers, whoever they turn out to be, and embrace the compassion you offer as we try again and again on our own and all together. Make us curious, Jesus, and give us courage. Amen.